not recorded it.
Recording in progress.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so in a moment, what we'll do is we'll take 10 seconds. I put my interviewer hat on, and then you hear a sound clap, and we get going. And we do it just organic. Let's talk about pretty much back and forth. This is no strict interview. And if you wanted to go anywhere, if you wanted to raise awareness of a certain point, you just go for it. You tell me. This is your show. You are there to raise awareness and maybe make other people understand more about, especially Armenians. There will be many young Armenians out there who maybe have turned away from the past, who are living now a life which they don't really want to know so much about it. But let's actually talk about it. There will be many people in the world who have never even heard about the Armenian genocide. So therefore, let's raise awareness and let's make sure that we are not heading again in the future for something crazy like that. Okay. Cool. So if you're happy
for this opportunity to speak about a very great let us say event in the history, very dark and very I think big lesson for the humankind. It's Armenian genocide. That was the genocide of the first genocide of the 20th century. Actually, it started the history of the genocides in a modern time.
Just one second.
Yes,
Mnatsakan. What we'll do is let's do it formally. So 10 seconds pause that I know where to cut. Then I do a sound clap. Then I bring you on, and then start with that. Okay, you happy with that? Okay. Fantastic. So 10 seconds, sound clap. Hi guys, welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and this podcast with me, your host, Stefan Nef. You have already realized that this channel is all about the reasons why we drink and the reasons why we try to escape our reality. And as such, if you go back into my 305 interviews that are out there now, I've had some amazing guests, and often guests that you maybe not expect. I've had the honor of interviewing concentration camp survivors from the Second World War. And I've got an interest in history because I strongly believe that we need to learn the lessons from the past. We are not allowed to forget the lessons of the past, because otherwise we make the same mistakes as our ancestors. And yet, especially nowadays in a time where social media is overwhelming you and where disinformation campaigns are the norm, it is so hard to actually find the truth. And therefore, from now and then, I will focus exactly on that, because trauma comes, of course, individual trauma, but also there is this huge trauma out there of the wars, internal displacement, genocides. And so this today will be quite a heavy-duty discussion, an interview with an amazing man who is helping me to maybe understand one particularly dark episode in the history. And today I'm talking about the Armenian Genocide and how it came to it, what it was all about, what actually occurred, and why it is important to realize today in 2022 the facts from the past, because nowadays there are still forces at play who want to spread false news, disinformation, etc. And in order to do that, I've got Colonel Mnatsakan Khachatyan here with me. Mnatsakan, thank you so much for you coming onto my show.
Thank you for having me, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to apply to the New Zealandian community, to the very friendly and nice country and people for me and for Armenians, because during 2 world wars, Armenia and New Zealand have been on the same side. We have been kind of allies, maybe not officially, but naturally we have been against the evil, against the German imperialism, against the Third Reich of Adolf Hitler. And in the First World War, in 1914, 1918, Armenia and New Zealand have been allies because New Zealand, as a dominion of the British Empire, have been fighting in the Near East against Turkish Empire, Ottoman Empire, and New Zealandians, Australian divisions and brigades lost a lot of people to defeat one of the empires of evil, Ottoman Empire, in Dardanelles battle in 1915. Unfortunately, Entente powers like Britain and France and their dominions and allies couldn't take at that time, that was May, the first half of May, the Dardanelles and Constantinople, which was nowadays Istanbul, which was the capital of Ottoman Empire. And after that, Turkish governors, Turkish ruling class, so-called Young Turks, they committed a genocide against the Armenians because they have been in, let us fear that British Empire and French, the democratic countries of the West, they can liberate these nations, and also America, because in 1917, the United States of America joined to this World War first, and that was very decisive for this war. And we have victory against Turkey, Germany, Austro-Hungary, and Bulgarian Kingdom, which was that time the ally of Ottoman Empire and Germany. But during this time, Ottomans could do these great atrocities, great massacre, and later Raphael Lemkin, after the First World War and even after the Second World War, he called it genocide, because there was not the term about this. There was no special scientific and political term. So the term came later, but atrocities and genocide was in 1915, 1923, which is like 8 years during the World War and after World War. And I want to say that it's very important for the world community to understand that was a dark page in the world history, because the Western democracies unfortunately couldn't prevent and even couldn't punish properly the perpetrators of these great injustice against the Armenian people and against the humanity, because not only Armenians, but also other Christian nations like Greece. So like 3 million of Armenians have been killed, raped, forcibly Islamized, and deported from their country. And the at least 3,000 years old Armenian civilization was almost destroyed. Our temples, our churches, our schools, buildings, everything was destroyed. Even our manuscripts, thousands and thousands and 10,000s of Armenian manuscripts, which have a great importance for the human civilization, because some Hellenistic and Greek, ancient Greek and Latin books have been preserved only in Armenian translations of 4th or 5th or 6th centuries. It is a great importance also, but they are trying to destroy not only Armenian nation as population, but also Armenian civilization, Armenian identity. This was like real fascism, and we can say that fascism and Nazism and racism have been on the top of Ottoman, let us say, policy, and this country became one of the first, and even before Italy, which became a fascist country in 1922, and Germany, which became a Nazi country in 1933, Turkey was an example of racism and example of fascism, because they concentration camps, which are photographed and documented by their allies, German officers and diplomats. And this is evidence, because they can't say, if they do, the Americans or British or New Zealanders and Australians or French or Greeks, they say, no, they are our enemies. They are making something, they are making fake photographs or documents. But when they are doing this, Germans, they allied because they allied and do everything. And some part of genocide, even with the help of German troops, German artillery destroyed Armenian quarters in the cities to defeat them. And after that comes the turn of Turkish divisions who went against peaceful, the regular army divisions went to destroy Armenian peaceful villages and towns. That was a real genocide. And I said 3 million of Armenians, maybe 2 million of Greeks, maybe 1.5 million Assyrians who are the descendants. They have been Christian nation also, and other Christian and even non-Christian minorities like Yazidis. Yazidis are like Kurdish speaking, but let us say like pagan people in the territory of Near East, and they also have been killed like Armenians. So this was a killing of nations, making pure Turkish state, which was the brilliant example of making national state, Nazi state, or destroying the other nations, the other cultures, even one of the most ancient civilizations, to make the place for a new country, for a new middle class, for a new bourgeoisie, because Turkish state, the Republic of Turkey, which followed the Ottoman Empire, defeated in the First World War and deleted from the map of the world, this new republic, who has the birth in 1923, headed by Kemal Pasha or Kemal Atatürk, the father of Turks, the father of the new Turkey, they could become a republic and the new economy and the big army only with the help of those great financial funds and all that, properties that they just forcibly took from Armenian people. And a lot of Turks, common Turks, like soldiers, peasants, and workers, they became middle class with the help of all this money. I don't speak about the Turkish pashas, elite, who became more and more. They became millionaires on the blood and bones of Armenian nation. This was, I don't know, it's an inhuman one, and I say we must not forget it. If we forget it, we will have more genocides. If we don't punish it, we will have more genocide. This is why this systematic destruction of Armenian people and their identity, it wasn't prevented. It wasn't remembered properly, and it was not punished properly. This is why soon they followed more genocides, like Holodomor of Ukrainians in Soviet Russia. In 1932, 1935, 5 to 8 million Ukrainians have been just killed by Stalinist regime, which was also a fascist regime. Stalin is more fascist than even Hitler. I can say that. And Europeans, especially Poland and Baltic states, they put Stalin even on equal of Hitler or even before him, because I can say you that as a historian who researched some part of European and German history, without the help of Soviet Russia, I can say Bolshevik Russia, I can say fascist Russia, never in 1933 Hitler could come to the power, because all the elections of 1930s shown that Social Democrats have very good positions in Reichstag, which was the parliament of the Weimar Republic, which was between Second Reich and Third Reich. So only the help of fascist or Bolshevik Russia made the Nazi party victorious in the 1933 elections because they have such a trick. There was a third international in Moscow, which was so-called, it was a communistic or Bolshevik mafia. It was a terrorist organization to make a so-called world revolution. And all so-called communistic parties of Europe, and not only Europe, Asia and other places, other countries, they have been kind of subordinates of Russian Bolshevik party. So Ernest Thälmann, who was the leader of German party, like Belak, who was leader of Hungarian communists, Dimitro was the leader of Bulgarian communists, etc., etc. They all have been subordinates of Russian Politburo, Bolshevik Politburo, and Stalin. And Stalin told the German communists and their electorate, you give at this moment, your votes not to social democrats and not make an ally with them, political ally, but to Nazi. So this is why Nazi party became a so-called majority in Reichstag, and Hitler became Reichskanzler. And after the death of Reich President Hindenburg, he became also Reich President and abandoned this position, and Reichskanzler became the Hührer of German nation. And they made another genocide. So Armenian genocide in 1915, 1923, Ukrainian Holocaust in 1932, 1935, and Jewish Holocaust in 1941, 45. These are connected logically. This is why Hitler told us these things. What I want to remember this. Who, after all, speaks today of the annihilation of Armenians? That was in August 22,
That's true. That's true.
Before the invasion of Poland, Hitler spoke before his generals and Nazi chefs that Nazi bosses, that they must invade Poland. And who now remember about these Armenians? Now you can go and kill these Poles and other people because we need Lebensraum. It means living territory for German Reich. This was a one of the direct consequences of not punishing young Turk leaders, the young Turk bosses who made these atrocities against Armenian people and against all of the humanity. And I think we are also European civilization, because Armenia is one of the roots or sources of European civilization, European Christianity, European culture. Everything is coming from the East, and that is Armenia. You can have archaeological and other historical and genetical materials, and you will see that Armenian civilization is the source of Western Europe, is the source of culture and civilization. And the tragedy of Armenia was that Armenia was in the crossroads of civilizations. You know about Samuel Huntington and these clashes of civilizations, sir, and my New Zealandian brothers and sisters. Armenia, unfortunately, he was in the beginning in the crossroads and gave culture and civilization and metals, starting from the not Iron Age, but even the Bronze Age, and before that, culture to all the countries, all the brother and sister countries. But sometimes it became kind of target for conquerors, because it was in the crossroads of civilizations, and a lot of countries and the invaders come to Armenia. And we have seen, let us say, Armenian nation or Armenian people in its long political history of like 5,000 years, so like maybe 15 or 20 big, huge empires, starting from Babylonian and Assyrian empires until nowadays the Russian Empire, fascist empire. And a lot of them have been destroyed, you know, just Babylonia, Assyria. And the others, I will tell the Roman Empire, before that Achaemenid Empire, after that Byzantine Empire, Arabic Caliphate, etc., Mongolian Empire, until Ottoman Empire, which was also destroyed. But all these wars and all these bloody invasions to Armenia brought lot of big problems and destruction to our culture. This is why our Renaissance in the 12th, 13th centuries, when Armenia was on the top of European civilization, in Cilician Kingdom of Armenia, when the Crusaders come to Armenia, they have been surprised to seeing this civilization. They took a lot of things to Western Europe from Armenia. But after that, Armenia became less and less civilized country because more invaders came again. Egyptian Mamluks and these Seljuks and then Mongols, and they destroyed our civilization and made country less and less and less. I will bring you, for you, as you are kind of part of Anglo-Saxon and British civilization, let me say what is the difference when you are in the crossroad of civilization or in the corner. Now, New Zealand is in the corner, like in the southern hemisphere, and nobody can invade New Zealand. But in that position was Britain. Look, I will not go to the 5,000 years old antiquity. I will say that only let us compare Armenia in the 10th, 11th century and England in the 10th, 11th century.
Okay.
The population of Armenia was kind of 5-6 million of Armenians in that time. And England was a kingdom with a population from 1.5 to 2 million. Look, 1,000 years later, we can see that England and Great Britain become a kingdom on these islands with territory like 240,000 and 250,000, and Armenia was like 300,000 or more, like 4,000, because it was a federal kingdom of Bagratuni, including Georgia, Albania, and Caucasian Federation. But Armenia itself was like 300,000 at least territory and 5 million as a population at least, and England only 1.5 and 2. Now in 20th century, in the first decades of 21st century, we can see like 60 million inhabitants in Great Britain. And we can see 350 million of Anglo-Saxon country, of half of is Anglo-Saxons in America, in United States. Canada, like 25 million. New Zealand, like 3.5 million. Australia, like 20 million and more. Look, a big Anglo-Saxon world. But Armenia could become, if it's 5 million, which means 3 times more population than in England in the same time, 10, 11 centuries, it could become like 300 million at least, or 1 million or 1 billion population in Near East. But it doesn't become. Why? Didn't become because of invasions, because its situation, its position on this crossroad made this civilization, this nation, very vulnerable. We have been defending the European civilization. We have been like a forepost for European civilization, defending them, defending Byzantine, defending the Balkans, defending, by the way, Central Europe. And even after the fall of Armenian kingdom of Great Armenia in 1045, Armenians could make another kingdom on the Mediterranean Sea. That was a Cilician Armenian kingdom, or Cilicia, and it's keep its existence like until 1375, 1375. This is 14th century. And even after that, when that was also destroyed by Mamluks and Mongols and Turks and Seljuks, everybody, after that, even after that, Armenians had immigrations to Crimea, nowadays Ukraine, Poland, Central Europe. and Armenian regiments have been defending Vienna in the 7th century against Turkish invasion against Turkish armies defending Central Europe. And Vienna was saved, and Central Europe and European civilization also with the help of Armenians. And if you go Vienna Central Cathedral, you can see the names of Armenian defenders of it and very allied families who have been great defenders of Vienna also. And a lot of Armenian troops have been also in the Polish army, which was very decisive in that battle against Ottoman Empire to defend Vienna and Central Europe. And a lot of Armenian troops were like chivalry, you know, the dragons of Polish army in the medieval time, in the time of Jan Sobieski, who was really a great Polish king, and together with German emperor, they saved Europe. And Armenian troops have been very, very important also in this battle. Not only the troops, Armenian diplomats, Armenian, let us say, traders, Armenian cultural workers, I want to say, like teachers. For instance, Slavonic alphabet was made, Cyrillica, you know, Cyrillic. That was made by two Armenians, Kirill and Methody, who were the students of Patriarch Pot of Byzantine, and Pot also was an Armenian. He was a Greek Orthodox Church metropolitan, but he was an Armenian by ethnicity. Like all Byzantine emperors of so-called Macedonian or Armenian dynasty, they have been Armenians. Starting from Basileus I. Basileus I, he said, I am Arshakuni, so a king from Armenian 4th century dynasty, and he asked Bagratuni, king of Armenia, to send him crown, because that was the tradition. Tradition saying that Bagratunis are crown holders of Arshakuni kingdoms, Arsacid kingdoms. This is a great tradition. But anyway, if you are interested in the history of Armenia, you will see that this nation was important in the near and in the world history and world trade, in the culture and civilization of Western Europe and Middle East. But unfortunately, nobody is thinking in these categories. They are just thinking like the Turks. They're thinking to make a pure ground for them. This means cleansing of Armenians. This means destruction of all the civilization, and that's it. So if you want prevent it and prevent the other genocides which are going now, until you say Rwanda, Darfur, etc. Right? Nanjing, Japanese made a genocide also in 1930s against China, but this is because Western world couldn't organize, integrate it, and stand against this great wave of very dark forces. Let us say, I call Russian Mordor, as a lot of my friends, because this is evil empire, like Reagan said, Ronald Reagan, the great president of America, one of the greatest presidents. Of course, it's an evil empire, because when England and French tried to help Armenia, when the Greek army was near Ankara, the new capital of Turkey, and Kemalis could be destroyed, and Turkey even deleted from the map of the world because of its evil, because of its crimes, unbelievable crimes against the humanity. Russia sent on that time, 1919, 1920, 1921, lot of military who have been in uniforms of Turkish army under Turkish flags. Generals like Mikhail Frunze, Russian generals, Russian commanders of Red Army. He was the deputy defense minister. Aralev, who was the chief of the military intelligence. The other one was Voroshilov, who became defense minister during the Stalin period. So these guys came to defend Kemal and Kemalist genocidal, fascistic, racistic state against Greeks, and Greek army was defeated. Russians gave him lot of gold, all the Tsar imperial gold they had, and took from Kolchak in Sibir. Admiral Kolchak, who was fighting against Bolsheviks and was defeated. So all this gold came to Turkey. Lot of millions of weapons and ammunition and artillery and military vessels, sea vessels, and even whole factories of powder, because Turkey hasn't at this moment nothing. It was zero. Great Britain intending, and America also, to destroy this evil. They did that in Europe, and now they intended to do that in the Asia Minor and Armenia, but they couldn't because of Russians. Russia saved them, like now, 100 years ago, the same you see the Putin doing with Erdogan, and the same was did what Lenin and Stalin with Kemal Atatürk. And Armenia became again the victim. Like in 100 years ago, now also, and I sometimes address to my Ukrainian, Russian, and even some Western European friends, and now to you, my New Zealandian brothers and sisters who will listen and look this or watch this program, I want to ask them, these guys, you see, the Russians, the fascist Russia, it surrendered our 3,000 or 4,000 years old Armenian province, Artsakh, which is called, I don't know why, with the Turkish name Karabakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, I don't know what. This Artsakh was always Armenian province. You can see in Strabon's 2nd century geography, Strabon, Greek geographer, ancient geographer, that it is part of Armenia, not only Strabon, Plutarchus, everybody. And Plinius, all Greek and Latin historians and geographers say that part of Armenia, and you can see no Azerbaijan in the Middle East until 1918, so beginning of the 20th century, and it was made artificially by the bayonets of Ottoman Turkish army, and with the help of Bolsheviks became an artificial state as a platform of revolution of Russia against all over the world, like Belarus, like Moldova. They made artificial countries, states, to make this invasion against the other countries, against Iran, against European countries, etc. Now, this Azerbaijan, it received Armenian lands. And now some Ukrainians are applauding that Artsakh gone to Azerbaijan, which is a Turkic state. I will say you, last year, 2021, Erdogan, president of Turkey, and Aliyev, son of KGB general Heydar Aliyev, Mr. Aliyev, son of the KGB general, Soviet KGB general, this president of Azerbaijan, so-called Azerbaijan, they signed a treaty between two countries that the armies are one army. These are two states, one nation, one army. There is no Azerbaijan army. Turkey received this part. After 200 years of Russian domination in Southern Caucasus, first time Turkey has military bases in the Southern Caucasus, and this is Armenian land, and they surrendered this land, Artsakh, I said, 4,000 years old province of Armenia to Turks, to Azerbaijan, and some Ukrainians and even Russians, they are applauding for that. For what? Why you are happy, guys? They surrendered, the fascist Russia surrendered the Armenian land, land of culture, land of Armenian culture, with all our churches, temples, our old ancient capitals of 1st century before the Christ. They surrendered it to, not to Europe, not to Americans, but to the fascist state of Turkey, and this is the same, Azerbaijan. Why you are applauding them? What is that? You don't understand that this is the defeat of civilization, another defeat, because Armenia was the source of civilization, source of culture, source of energy for all humankind. And even in the Bible, you have the name of Armenia at least 4 times. That Eden was situated in Armenia. That was in the east, and four rivers are coming from the Eden. These are Arax, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. Even 4th grade student of school can look on the map and see that these rivers are coming from the Armenian highland. And the second time
just one second. I want to stop you there. I want to stop you there for a moment. Because no, it's beautiful. I've never seen such a holistic approach.
Was made in Ararat. You know Ararat, the biblical Ararat. No, after the flood, civilization was saved here. Maybe it's a legend. Maybe it's just biblical story. I don't know. The researchers will say that. But if you say that Ararat became again the center of civilization, just to understand why it's written in the Bible. And 2 times also, when they say, I think in the Kings 2 and Kings 4, in these books, in Bible, it's written that when the sons of Assyrian king Asarhaddon killed their fathers because of a tyrant, they escaped to land of Armenia. And another time also, this is the 5th time Armenia is in Bible. We see that Prophet Jeremiah is telling them that Armenian kingdoms, Meni and Ashkenazi and Armani, come with your troops to us and save us from this Babylon, to this Assyria and other countries. So these tyrant countries have been defeated by Armenians, and Jews have been escaped with the help of Armenia. And this is written in the Bible. So this biblical country can't be destroyed. And when the Western people, they are applause to Turkey, that Turkey is taking one more time the Armenian lands, and actually they are going to destroy Armenia. And I say Russia, fascist Russia, surrender Armenian lands to fascist allies of Russia, fascist Turkey and fascist Azerbaijan. I tell you honestly, this is a truth, because 2 days before genocidal invasion of Russia to Ukraine, in Moscow, Mr. Aliyev, son of the KGB general, signed with Mr. Putin, another KGB officer, colonel of KGB, who became Tsar of Russia, a treaty about strategic alliance between Russia and Azerbaijan. This is fact. Remember this. This is a fact. And they gave 90% of armament of Azerbaijan, which was used to destroy Armenian army first. And the second, all KGB agents who were operating in Armenia, starting from the prime minister of Armenia, all the leadership during 31 years of independence of our country are KGB agents who are operating for the interests of Russia, and they organized the defeat of Armenian army. Only with the help of American Western countries, Armenia could support Artsakh, which was liberated and saved from genocide of Turks in Artsakh or Karabakh, with the help of USA and Western countries and Minsk group, so-called Minsk group of OSCE, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, that was kept under the control of Armenia. And now Russia tried to change international rules always, everywhere, in Ukraine, in Caucasus, against Armenia. And this must be kept serious, because these fascist countries have allies. And we don't understand why Mr. Erdogan left the Russian Navy in the very first 30 days to come through Dardanelles and Bosphorus and enter from Aegean, from Mediterranean, Aegean to Black Sea. And some stupid Ukrainian friends say, oh, they gave us Bayraktars, and these 200 Bayraktars help us to fight against Russia. Oh my God. When you have 200,000 troops on the Navy and it's coming to destroy your southern provinces, starting from Odessa to Khersones and until to Mariupol, and they are killing you with their crucial missiles and submarines, and other Russian vessels are on the Black Sea with the help of Turkey. Now you must understand which one is better, to have 200 Bayraktars, drones, or a big fleet of Russia in the Black Sea, which is destroying your country. And when Mr. Zelensky told to Mr. Erdogan, why you left these, why you don't close these channel, why you don't close these straits, Dardanelles and Bosphorus for Russians, Erdogan said very naively that, you know what, by the Montreal Treaty of 1935 in Switzerland, which was a treaty about status of Black Sea straits, I must close the straits when it's war. But now it's not war, it's a military operation, you know, Mr. Zelensky. And Zelensky, I think, at that time, he understood who is Erdogan. And I think the United States and some people also in other countries understood who is Erdogan and who are Putin and Erdogan together. And now 5 Turkish banks making operations with Russian ruble, which is the currency, Russian national currency. They are helping them to breathe. And Russia still is fighting against Ukraine, against Europe, not Ukraine, against Europe and Western civilization, with the help of these 5 Turkish banks also, because Turkey doesn't join to sanctions of Western countries, including American, Western Europe. This is the question. And of course we will have genocide. And we have genocide again in Ukraine, because we didn't punish this genocidal state, this Turkey. And you know what they wrote in the comments when I put my videos or myself make some comments to the Ukrainian TV and other shows. They read these Turks and Azerbaijan. They wrote, "You Armenians, you must delete it from Caucasus. No Armenia there. You are an artificial state. No Armenia in the maps. This is Russians made you in 19th century, and your capital Yerevan is even a Turkish city." And they are speaking to the nation whose map is in the Roman maps in the Rome. You can see, go and see that there are Roman Empire's map, and there is Armenia Major, which is Great Armenia, Armenia Minor, which is Small Armenia, no Azerbaijan. They, the Turks and the Azeris, came from Altai. You know, Altai is in the southern Siberia. They conquer Central Asia, like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan. That was the Iranian nations. Then Iran itself, Afghanistan, some part of India, then came to Iraq, the Caucasus. And they became residents of Southern Caucasus only in the 14th century. And now they want to delete my country from the map of the world. This is very interesting, guys. And I
Mnatsakan, stop for a moment. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and I have lived and breathed history for the last 40 years. I read very few other things, and so therefore I understand you, but I think we have left quite a few of our viewers and listeners behind you. But it is beautiful what you're saying. To summarize, the Armenian civilization has been one of the longest standing civilizations in the world. It has been the first Christian church. It has been of such importance, yet there have been ongoing assaults. And it's interesting to actually hear your history from your words, because ultimately it's not just the genocide of 1915 or up to 1923, but we are talking actually before that. There were multiple multiple attempts from the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire at that time, to actually destroy Armenians. We know that from the 1880s. We know that indeed the Ottoman Empire actually did massacres themselves. Why? What is the drive? I understand a country trying to invade another country to have more room to live, to somehow get the mineral resources or oil, etc., in order to make it richer. But what was the driving force of the Turks towards Armenians? And with that I mean on an individual level. I mean the Kemal Atatürk or the Free Young Turks didn't go out themselves to kill Armenians. There were myriads of police, heaps of soldiers were going out there to do the killing, and often the individual Turkish or other residents of villages applauded and stood around when these massacres occurred. Where's that come from? Is that an Islamist fight against Christianity, or is that too simplistic?
It's a very good question. It's a question that must be answered by for instance, by the Armenian Academy of Sciences, which has a lot of institutes: Institute of History, Institute of Psychology, Institute of Archaeology, Institute of, Ethnography, etc., etc. And there are some answers about that also in our Western friends' researches. And let us say, maybe I think Mr. Henry Morgenthau's story is one of the best answers, because in difference of me and you, he was just living in the time of genocide.
Absolutely.
And he was not just a person, individual. He was an official representative of one of the greatest countries of the world, the United States. There were only 8 United States ambassadors in that time, and one of them he was. He was an ambassador in the Ottoman Empire, or so-called Sublime Porta, which means the government of Sultan. That was the official name of the Turkish government, you know. And I, as well as you and a lot of educated people, they know this story. They read it, and can see that there are very interesting, let us say, surveillance on Turkish character, especially to Turkish elite, and not only elite, because this elite is coming from the Turkish people itself. It cannot birth in the Greek land. It's born in the Turkey. So all the Turkish nation and its ideology, let us say, and its approaches to the political drive is crystallized in the activities or policy of these rulers. And I think ambassador was very, very, he was very just, or his words are justified when he said that this nation, these Turks, are, if you can give me the time, I will just read this line. It's a very interesting one, and could
so that
be
is from
helpful.
Henry Morgenthau, the American ambassador to Turkey at the time.
Yeah, at the time. So it is when look, he's describing the situation. The British fleet and French fleet are coming to Marmara Sea, and they trying to take Dardanelles. And the last moment, when they are almost win and didn't know that Turkish batteries have only one on the Asian part, 17 shells, and the other one on the European part, only 10 shells. And they went back. And only New Zealandian and Australian brigades have been on the land to fight against the Gallipoli or Dardanelles. So fleet went back, and Turkey was saved. And this moment, he said, I saw the Turkish leaders, they changed on my eyes. They very polite, and with some European polish, became Turks of medieval times. And I saw them as really Turks, really what they are. And I want to read this part, if you will give me a time, and we will understand what is going on. All this psychology. The Turks prepared to flee from Constantinople, and whereas the man who demonstrated the vulnerability allowed
Mnatsakan, if you can hear me, we have had you're frozen. Could it be that your phone is running out of juice? It has been running out of juice.
Technical problems, huh? Okay. So I found that place, that piece of
Sure.
Mr.
Stop,
Hermin
Mnatsakan, stop. You're not yet
yes.
on. You need to switch on the view. There's no video.
There is no view. Let me put it now.
Yeah,
we got it.
That's it.
So, first of all, very interesting observation from the side of Mr. Henry Morgenthau, who was one of the greatest political, and I think not only the humanitarian individuals of that time. I think, because I don't know if I understand what he did for Armenians and for the world. I respect this guy more and more and more. So he said that after the let us to say defeat, or better to say just mistakenly withdrawal of British and French fleet from Marmara, from Gallipoli, the Ottomans were cheering, and they forgot that the Germans saved them, because German generals, officers, and German artillery and German tactical thinking was helping Turks to survive. And now they say, what, these Germans, we did this, why should we feel any obligation to Germans? Ever would say to me, Henry Morgenthau said, Ever, which was one of the young Turk leaders, young Turk, the Hians, who ate Armenian nation, who drink the blood of Armenian nation, not only Armenian, he was also the war minister, or in this time, nowadays modern term it will defense minister, but he was war minister of Turkey, and one of the three guys who led Turkey on that time. Talat, who was the internal minister and kind of Hյուրը of Turkey, he was actually the prime minister. Enver, who was the war minister, and Cemal, who was the navy minister, but also the commander of the Fourth Army in Syria, which was a very important place for Ottomans, because they stopped English, British, and French troops from Egypt to Turkey. Better to say Armenian highland. So this Enver would say to Mr. Morgenthau, what have they done, these Germans, for us, which compares with what we have done for them? They have lent us some money and sent us a few officers, it is true, but see what we have done for them. And he's describing that they are stopping Russians in the eastern front, and in the southern front against Iraqi front against British, and Syrian fronts against French and British. So all these things is speaking, and Morgenthau is writing for him that these guys, they are not thankful. And the same, I can tell you, just for interest and to understanding, nowadays Armenian, and nowadays Turks, and nowadays Americans. Americans helped Turkey against Russia because Russia could swallow Turkey after the Second World War, and just Americans saved them, and British. By the way, they know that Germany was really, Turkey was the ally of Germany until 1944, when they officially declared war. Turkey declared war against Germany, and without any shoot, they became one of the victorious nations. This is very amoral, but anyway, this is very, very Turkish way of policy. And now they received a lot of things from Britain, a lot of things from America during these 50 years after the Second World War, during the 20th century, and again 2 decades in the 21st century. And Turkey became a very developed country, very defended country, protected country. And now they say that Americans are not good. We can be allies to Russians. And like 20 years ago, when I've been a young lieutenant or senior lieutenant or captain, it's not important. Now, I had two American officers in my country as guests. And we have been speaking during the trip from one of our military units to the capital city, because they have been military inspectors. And I was the escort and the chief of the Armenian inspection group. These are military exchanges between our armies. So these were exchanges. So, and these guys asked me, why you don't believe Turks? I said, you know why, guys? Because they can very easy change their color, change their attitude, and from enemy, friends become enemy. And you know why? In 1920, 1921, 100 years ago, Russians saved Turkey. You know, the Greek army was near the Ankara, and they could take it with the help of British. But Russians helped and saved Turkey. And after that, in 1941, when Germany attacked Russia on June 22, 1941, before that, they were allies. From 1931, when they together divided Poland, and 52% of Poland was taken by Soviet Union or Soviet Russia, and 48% to Germany. So after that, they destroyed all the Europe together, Baltic countries, Romania, Poland, everything. Again, war against Finland. And every time, Tovarish Stalin, Comrade Stalin, was sending telegrams of congratulations to Comrade Hitler, Parteigenosse Hitler, Adolf Hitler, for the victory against Denmark, Norway, against France. For Paris, they have telegram. You can read in Izvestia, which is very important Soviet newspaper. In the archives, in the internet, you can see congratulations from Stalin to Hitler for taking Paris. And when Great Britain was alone against Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, and fascist Russia, Russia gave everything, every strategic materials to German army. All they need, oil, I don't know, corns, everything, wheat, I mean, metals, strategic metals, everything went to cotton, to Germany, against Great Britain, who was the only country fighting against Nazi Germany. Very interesting. And, okay, on 1941, June 22, Germany attacked Russia because Germans understand that Russians won't use them as an icebreaker. You know, icebreaker. Germany will fight and defeat the European democracies. And after that, when all the German army and fleet is like round of Great Britain, and only the bodyguard regiment of Hitler is in Berlin, and only one escadrilla of Luftwaffe is in Berlin, millions of Russian paratroopers, 20,000 of Russian tanks, which is more than all the tanks all over the world on that time. And other troops, millions of troops will come and parade, like in Ukraine, they want to do that in the first 3 years, you know, 2 days. They will come to Berlin, take the Germany, and they go to liberate France and Belgium, Spain, Italy, everything. Germans understood that, and they strike them suddenly under the mask of so-called military exercises. They could do that, and you know, during three months, they almost destroyed Red Army, Russian Red Army, and we are not far from Moscow, you know. And only Britain and America, they could save Russians. Only them. 11 millions of Russian army have been defeated by 3 millions of German army because, you know, the quality and quantity. This is very interesting things. If you have Mercedes is better than Soviet Zhiguli, you know, the car, which is like, you understand?
Oh, absolutely.
And only 4 million of Russian soldiers and officers and even generals surrendered to as war prisoners to Germans. They didn't know where to keep them. They have not even place and food for them. You understand that? And this was Russia, and Britain and America saved this country. I hope this time they not save Russia, and Ukraine will defeat them, and Ukrainian tanks will be Moscow, because this is evil empire. But you see, Turkey in that time in 1941, when Germans attacked its ally Russia, Turkish ally Russia, who saved the Russians. I say you truth again. You can go Constantinople or Istanbul, you know, go there to the Taksim Square, which is the independence square of Turkey. Go and you will see group of statues. It is Kemal Pasha, you know, Kemal Atatürk, and around him a lot of Turkish and Russian generals. For instance, Marshal İnönü, İsmet İnönü, and other Turkish prominent generals. İnönü became the second president after first president Kemal. And you will see near Kemal Russian generals. Mr. Voroshilov, who became defense minister of Stalin, just in time of this war, he was the defense minister, German-Soviet war. And Mr. Aralov, who was ambassador and also the military intelligence chief of Red Army. These guys are staying until now. And these statues are made in 1932 and stayed now 2022 because Turkey knows who saved them. But when the Germans attacked in 1941 June, Turkish army brought 500,000 soldiers to the Soviet border, Russian border. That was like 26 divisions of Turkish army. It's a huge one because Soviets have only 3-5 divisions on the border. I know that because that Armenian-Turkish border, so-called border, it's not a border. It's illegal border because it made the Russians and Turkish against Armenia. They divided my country and made this artificial border for them because my border is Woodrow Wilson's border. The limits America gave in 1920, November 22, and Sever Treaty of 1920, August 10, Entente countries, our allies, British, French, and other states, they gave us these Western Armenian lands, and now they occupied with the help of Russia. But these Turks forgot everything and brought their divisions to the this border of Arax River and Ahurian River, waiting to attack Russia again. Actually, it will be Armenia first, then Russia, because it was a border republic, and they think that they can genocide the last part of Armenian nation and close the last page of Armenian history with this. And now I said this history to these American guys, to these officers. I said, look, Russia saved the Turkey. Not one time, not only on 1920, 1921. In 1831, 33, there was, in 19th century, Egyptian-Ottoman War, when Ibrahim Pasha, the Khedive of Egypt, sent his troops, headed by General, Ibrahim was the general, his son, Muhammad was the Khedive of Egypt. An Egyptian army defeated Turkish army and came until the central part of nowadays Anatolia. They took everything. Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Cilicia. Nothing was between army of Egypt and Turkish capital. And then who came to save the Turkey? Russia. And Russian troops, by the order of Tsar Nicholas I, they came, landed in the Asian part of so-called Turkey, and stopping the advance of Egyptian army, saved the Turkish Empire again. And what did the Turkey after that? Only 20 years later, they start war against Russia for Crimea. And the same was happened in this time when they have been saved by Russia in 1920-25 so-called independence war of Turkey against Greece and Armenia, and now they started aggression against Russia. And I say, American guys, look, you will receive the same because you are helping now Turkey. They will turn against you, their bayonets. You will see that. And when I came to Brussels, I have been 20 times maybe in NATO headquarters because I was the officer of for these functions for Armenian army. Okay, I thank the God that I had an army on that time and I had this position to make good things for my country and for army. I didn't understand these KGB agents will destroy all my country and my army. And now a lot of Armenians, millions of them, left the country. This is a Russian program, not my wish. They say, we need Armenia without Armenians. That was said in 19th century by the Earl or Graf, Russian Graf. In Germany, it will be Earl, Count. Alexei Lobanov-Rostovsky, he became the foreign minister of Tsarist Russia, and he said, we need Armenia without Armenia. And they did it during 200 years, and now we have this. I and a lot of Armenian families, we are immigrants because we have no country, independent country. It's under control of Russia, under control of Russian KGB, and they do everything to destroy Armenia. And Turks applause for this. Armenia could be a very good ally for Russia, but Russians, they don't like allies. They like slaves, only slaves. They don't understand the equality between nations. This nation, this Russian nation, I say they are racist and fascist because they understand only domination and slavery. That's it. No equality, no friend. This is completely different world. This is another civilization. It's not Europe, New Zealand or Australia. You forget it. Russia is a Mongolic type of destructive country. It's really Mordor, I can say. And this is why Turkey and Russia, psychologically, they are the same. And Azerbaijan, because it's a small Turkey, artificial state made by mother Russia and father Turkey. So this is why Armenia is in very, very crucial and very critical point and situation. I said, these American guys, you will receive a lot of thanks from Turkey for your help, American, not their individual, but their countries. And you will see. That was before Iraqi war. When Americans attacked the Saddam Iraq, you can remember that Turkey denied Americans, refused them to come from the northern part and made operation from two sides, north and south, yes? They said, no, we didn't go for that. I said them, they are traitors. They will betray you. And when I came another time to Brussels after this, they came to me with open hands and want to hug me and say, you have been right. You understand Turks better than we. I said, okay, you more and more things, guys, more and more things. And now they see S-300 or S-400 case, Syrian case, everything. They will see this betrayal of Ukraine. Actually, they betrayed. And only after 3 days of the war, by the pressure of America, these straits, Turkish straits, are close to Black Sea. But after 3 days is very big time for the war. You know how a lot of people have been died, and Kyiv could be occupied by the Russian troops who came from Belarus, by the way. This is the shortest distance, you know, like Germans did it from Belgium to Paris, you know, that Schlieffen-Plan, so-called, you know that well. But anyway, Turkey is very crucial so-called ally and in fact an enemy of Western civilization, because they under psychology that was shown by Henry Morgenthau. I said that he said the following: Turks unfolding And now that the fortunes of war were apparently favoring the empire, Ottoman Empire, I, Henry Morgenthau, began to see an entirely new Turk unfolding before my eyes. The hesitating and fearful Ottoman feeling his way cautiously in these mazes of European diplomacy and seeking opportunities to find an advantage for himself in the divided councils of European powers gave place to an upstarting, almost dashing figure, proud and assertive, determined to live his own life and absolutely contemptuous of the Christian force. I was really witnessing a remarkable development in rice psychology, an almost classical instance of reversion to type. And this is why this chapter 22 of Morgenthau's story, it's the title is "The Turk Reverts to the Ancestral Type." And he said, Turks look on Christians, on the Western Europeans, on the West like dogs. Mm. And he brought Mr. Morgenthau a very interesting history. Look, the common term applied by the Turk to the Christian is dog. And in his estimation, this is no mere rhetorical figure. He actually looks upon his European neighbors as far less worthy of consideration than his own domestic animals. My son, an old Turk once said, do you see that herd of swine? Some are white, some are black, some are large, some are small. They differ from each other in some respects, but they are all swine. So it is with Christians, but not decisive, my son. These Christians may wear fine clothes, their women may be very beautiful to look upon, their skins are white and splendid, many of them are very intelligent, and they build wonderful cities and create what seem to be great states. But remember that underneath all these dazzling exterior, they are all the same. They are all swines.
I certainly read that. I certainly know that part. It is so difficult because you gave us the honor of reviewing basically thousands of years of history of the Armenian people and the onslaughts that were there throughout the time. It is, I think, it is beautiful to see the Armenian Genocide of 1915 and 1923 in that bigger light. And it explains actually a lot to me. And for that, I'm actually very grateful. How would you reply to Turkey or to any Turkish scholars who deny that the Armenian Genocide actually has happened?
Stephen, my friend, if Turkey will be honest and frank to Armenia, then they must follow the international law and they must implement, the decision of the United States and decision of the Entente and League of Nations, who was the predecessor of United Nations organization. So these states, I said they are like Russia. It's a small Russia, or I don't know, it's a Turkish Russia. Russia is Russian Turkey. They are the same with psychology. They are these empires or these nations, spectators say, they are based on the conquer. They are based on capture the nations, their culture, their richness, their history, even their genetics, their blood. Because you will have here, the buildings in which Christians lived should not be conspicuous, and their churches should have no belief to it. Christians not could ride a horse in the city. For that was the exclusive right of the noble Muslim. The Turk had the right to test the sharpness of his sword upon the neck of any Christian. Any Christian. even if this Christian is a minister or advisor of minister of Ottoman Empire. Imagine this government, and they try to make profit from the genocide of Armenians. Here, Mr. Morgenthau explained that, you know, they tried to take all Armenian women because they made they can make eugenics or eugenics of Turkish nation better. They become like they were Mongoloids, these eyes, and they became Europeans. They became Armenoids. They became Middle Easterns, because, you know, I think there was a German study that was not very open one, but it shows that from like 85 now, like 90 millions of inhabitants of Turkey, only 32% confess that they are real Turks. The other 70%, they said that we have Armenian or Greek or Arabic or Kurdish or Laz or other non-Turkic roots. The country is made of captive nations. They have fear that if they will accept the genocide, the country will collapse. If they will give the truth about the genocide, truth about their history, if they will open the shelf where there are a lot of bones and skulls, skeletons, Turkey will be collapsed, because with such an heritage, with such a dark history, they can't survive. And they have not this courage to say the truth to their country. The same was with Russia. They have not the courage to say that they are imperialistic country, they are genocide maker country, that they killed even their own Russian nation. After 1917 revolution, 20 millions of Russians are killed by the Russians. And the Russian Bolsheviks used the very vulgar, very low elements in their psychology and their desire to become something, to kill the other more educated, more prosperous Russians. And they killed almost all the aristocracy of a country. And some of them fled to European countries, you know, and Russian generals, army colonels, they have driving taxi in Paris streets to support their families, to have bread. And a lot of them have been in concentration camps, who are, after the Turkish concentration camps for Armenians, the biggest concentration camps in the world history, even bigger than the German concentration camps. And 60 millions of Russians have been killed during the history of Russia until now. And they don't want to say the truth about this. They don't want to open even the archives of World War II. After 70 or more years of the end of this World War, because they can't show their people and the other nations that they are beasts, they are monsters. This is a demonic state. This is really evil empire. This is really Mordor. Tolkien, the great English.
I want to add, wait one second. We need to be fair, because whilst you quite rightly say that officially the Second World War finished on the 8th of May 1945, that's actually a heap of bullshit. Because the Second World War continued actually into the early 50s with a myriad of revolutions, civil wars continuing in the various countries, and millions of people further continued to die and perish. So we are sort of thinking in this kind of illusion that, oh, brilliant, on a certain time, in a second, on that day, finally everything was fine and we are all happy. That's actually rubbish. So and it's not just the Russians, and although the Russians, you're quite right, all the figures you've quoted, I acknowledge them and know them, but you have got the same between, let's say, Ukraine and Poles. You have got the same between all the other nations. So this is a savage Europe, or a savage world when it comes down to it. It is, and you mentioned the rape of Nanking, the invasion of Japanese into China. There are so many things. Take the American-Indonesian War at around 1900s. That is, some of the American soldiers had to be sent back by their leaders because they became too bloodthirsty. Now, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of Indonesians have been killed in those times by the Americans. So it's not just one country, although I must say that Russia, especially under Stalin, has excelled in that. Second with Hitler, for crying out loud. Is that fair to say? So that we have got these kind of savage times again and again, and it is only the victors are writing the history. So the Americans don't want to know about the massacres that they have created. And it's the victors who are dictating nowadays what is being taught as history.
Stephen, you know what? Let me say that Russia is a very specific one, as Turkey also, because these two countries are made up on the, how can I say, on the top of schools, sir. These are countries, very specific ones. The Russian archives, they must open in 25 years after the World War, but they didn't. And after 25 years, they prolonged it again, and now 70 years and more, because they know what crimes they did against all the nations, including their own Russian nation. I can say you that this, why now Russian nation don't rise against Putin's fascist regime? Because during all these decades, starting from 1917 until now, 2022, you see, this country was kind of politically, it was kind of selected. So they killed the aristocracy, they killed the educated people. Some of them become servants of the Soviet state, right? Like Stemenko, who became the chief of general staff. But a lot of them, even these guys who have been traitor of the Tsarist regime or democratic Russia, Kerensky Republic, you know, between Tsarist and Bolshevik republics, they have been killed. One day in 1937 or 1938, they will be killed, and they would be killed, and they have been killed. So, and after that, all the thinking Russians, not only Russians, Ukrainians, Armenians, Lithuanians, everybody have been killed. Only in my nation, I can say 50,000 people after so-called Sovietization or capture of Armenia, dividing Armenia between two parts. Let's see. In my country, there is Academy of Armenian Sciences. I know that. I said about this. There is a history institute inside this academy. Lot of institutes for physics, other science, chemistry, etc., cybernetics. But this history institute doesn't allow, they didn't allow the elite of so-called Armenian Republic during the Soviets, and now so-called independent Armenia for 31 years. They didn't give them to give us. I'm historian, I can do that, but all the people, they didn't know about the war between Armenia and Turkey and Armenia and Russia. They know about the war, about Armenian-Turkish war in 1918 and 1920, but they don't know about the war in 1920. 3 times Russia invaded Armenia, and we defeated them until they came together with Turks and divided our country, destroyed our republic and divided. After 2.5 years of independence, Armenia was only one of the Caucasus republics, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia. Armenia was only member of League of Nations because Armenia fought on the side of Britain, France, Australia, New Zealand, America. Armenia was ally of those countries. By the way, Japan also, Italy, at that time. And they gave us, for this, first, in 1920, they recognized, actually, the genocide of Armenians. But Russians say, no, America doesn't recognize this. It's a historical lie, falsification. And America, in these last 2 times, during the Biden administration, twice, again, recognized. And during the Trump's administration, the Republican Congress and Senate also twice recognized. So in all his history, America recognized Armenian in different ways and different institutions like legislation, executive power branch of the government, and also the judicial branch of 3 branches of American institutions. They recognized Armenian constitution, Armenian genocide, starting from 1920, and not only recognized, they made some kind of like punishment of Turkey and so-called compensation. And they gave our lands back to us. Not all the lands, but that was a big Armenia with sea on Trabzon, Black Sea, not half, but third part of Black Sea seashore could be Armenian with 3 big seaports. And we had Van, Erzurum, Bitlis, vilayets of Turkey, or better to say Western Armenia, or part of Western Armenia, under Armenian control. And now they, illegally, all these territories are under Armenia. This is why Americans don't put their military bases on the territory of Western Armenia. Because they, until now, recognize that this is Armenian territory, this is not Turkish territory. They know that. But there is no Armenian government to go to Americans and say, hey, guys, look, you gave us this treaty, you gave us this, awarded us the arbitrary decision of President Wilson with the big seal, great seal of the United States, which is not for president, for all the presidents of America. Anytime you can go and say, this is my land, this is my map, okay, I will take this country. But no, we have no such government because, as I said, all they are agents of Russia. They're not allowed to do anything in the interest of Armenian nation. And this is why we have this situation. So they don't, Russians, not only their archives, but also they closed our real history, genuine history from us, Armenians, in order not to give Armenian nation to understand and brainwash them for decades that Russia is forever is friend and ally, and Turks are enemies, yes. But if Putin wants that Turkey became friend of Armenia, he can say it's his agents in Armenia, so-called prime minister or president, and they will accept it. He will say, oh, go and sign any treaty with Turkey or give these lands to Turkey. They will give because they are agents. They are not Armenian representatives. This is not Armenian government. We have not independent country. This is the problem. We are not New Zealand. We are not Israel. We are not even Ukraine or Bulgaria. We are nothing. We are a colony of Russia. And this is why they close all these archives. Don't show their own population, our population, that this is historical injustice, and also this very dirty political game. This is they are hiding, my friend. This is they are hiding. And you said Russia. No, Russia is evil. It's enemy number one for the, I can say you that. Enemy number one for the world. It's not my words. You can read, for instance, very loved for Russians, German philosopher Karl Marx. You know him. In 1867, he said, Russian policy is not changeable. They can't change their methods, their ways, etc. But the unchangeable polar star of Russia is world domination. World domination. 1867, Karl Marx, German philosopher and founder of so-called scientific communism, and the idol of Russian communists and Bolsheviks, and now for Putin, because Putin was a party member, Russian Communist Party member, and he's a KGB officer with his spirit in heart. He's a fascist. You can see in Ukraine. So I want to say you that this is very specific country, and Germans, even communist professor or scientist Karl Marx said that this is a evil country, not Ronald Reagan, Karl Marx. And everybody knows if you want to eliminate Russian trade, my friend, you must eliminate Russia itself, because this is not a real country. It's not civilization country. It's not bringing civilization. It's taking something from them. They took, with the help of Americans and British, Germany, eastern part, and they took everything from them. Even the machine gun of German constructor was stolen, and say, this is Kalashnikov, you know. This is Kalashnikov gun. We made it. And who made it? A sergeant of Russian army who was not have any knowledge of physics and mathematics, nothing. He didn't make any other invention in the world history, nothing else. Only this Kalashnikov machine gun, you know. They took the, you understand what I say? The same with German ballistic missiles, the same with German cars, the same with everything. Now they are using all German factories that they wholly took from Germany as a compensation for the
true. At the same time, there was Operation Paperclip, where basically the Americans and to a certain degree the English actually went into Nazi Germany and extracted thousands of scientists, etc., to work in the United States to get the knowledge out. So I think all countries, all victors will behave to a certain degree in the same way. And if you look at the First World War, how actually France was trying to literally destroy Germany after the Treaty of Versailles. And that shows you that even Western countries can be incredibly cruel, can be incredibly forceful in their belief systems.
Sir, first, let me say that, of course, maybe you are right in kind of, but look, it's very different when you say Americans took German scientists to their country, to their laboratories. Yes, but they say we take them. Russians didn't say that Schmeisser is the author of, Schmeisser made this machine gun. They say Kalashnikov, this is Russian. You understand the difference, eh? Yeah. They copied even American Boeing, which was bombarding Japanese empire in the time of Second World War. But when it has the lack of fuel and landed on Russian territory in Vladivostok, they took it and copied. But they have been saved by America, but they took and copied and stole an American aircraft and everything, you know. And they didn't say that this is Boeing. They say this is 150 something. You understand? So yeah. I don't like this. You must honestly say that we took German this, French this, Italian this, okay? But you can't make, I want to say that they can't generate anything good for civilization. This is a stealing nation. This is copying nation. There are some nations who create something. And there are some, unfortunately, there are some nations like Russia, Turkey, and Azerbaijan. And I can say also about Pakistan, a lot of them, you know, Northern Korea. But the same people in one system can become Northern Korea, and the same Korean people in the Western system becomes Southern Korea. Southern Korea has Samsung, has anything it's a top industrial country of the Pacific and the world. And Northern Korea is a fascist country. The same country, the same people, they speak almost the same language, nothing different, but they have different systems. This is why when they now surrender Armenia to Turks, I am not happy, because they don't want that British, Europeans, and Americans can come to Armenia. Armenia will become like a Singapore, like a Southern Korea, like a Taiwan, like a Hong Kong, like Israel. But they don't want that. Armenia was Israel for America before Israel. 1920, I said, Woodrow Wilson made an Armenia with almost 160,000 square kilometers with the Black Sea port, and Turks and Russians didn't allow that to become. They destroyed Armenia. Armenia now could be a nice country with 15 or 20 million of inhabitants, and me not to be behind the ocean, far from my country, but work and serve to my country. And also millions of Armenians, 3 million Armenians in America, 2 million Armenians in Europe, 4 million Armenians in Russia, but they are on the status of slave. This is the difference with Russia and free world. I can speak to you about this. No Armenian from Russia can speak about this. First of all, they don't know this. They don't allow to, no Russians, no Tatars, no Chechens, no other peoples in Russia, Bashkirs, etc., Yakuts, Buryats, and Armenians also, they don't allow to know the real history of Russia and their own nation. This is the problem. This is fascist country, I say you. America is open. I can go anywhere in this country and I see their Armenian letters, Vietnamese, Korean, everything. You can speak to them every language. This is free because they don't fear us. They say, hey guys, you are free. Do whatever you want to prosper and to bring something to this civilization. That's cool. In Russia, you must speak only Russian. We have not Armenian schools in Russia. You understand? 4 million Armenians in Russia have not schools. 3 million of America has a lot of schools. This is the difference. You understand me, please?
I understand.
In Russia, everything is under control of KGB and even our church. Our church, after the defeat of Armenian Republic by 2 states, fascist Turkey and fascist Russia in 1920, they divided our country. This is big mistake of Western countries. They couldn't send lot troops to defeat these 2 fascist states. They must destroy them that they did with Nazi Germany. They did it very well against Germany. And now Germany is very democratic country in comparison with Turkey, yes. In the Central Europe, after this Nuremberg process, when Nazis was eradicated, Germany became a different state, different psychology, different policy maybe. You know better because you are based in Germany, or you have some German university experience. You know better that. But I can say Turkey is very different, and Russia also. And if the Western civilization could prevent the destruction of Armenian Republic, which was their ally, which was fought for Western civilization, like you, New Zealanders and Australians fought in the Dardanelles for the victory of the democracy in the Turkish Straits. You fought very heroically. I know that. But my nation also. I met an Australian businessman, very rich, very good guy. He likes Armenians. That was like maybe 20 years ago in Yerevan, in my capital city in Armenia. He said, my grandfather, he said, I like Armenians. My grandfather was fight against Turks also for your country. I love Armenians because they're good community of Armenians in Australia. He was very honest to me. He tried to do some business in Armenia, but our KGB governors, our so-called power in Armenia, they didn't give them GMC, you know, the big car factory, vehicles factory of America. They, in the beginning of Armenian independence in 1991, 92, they asked us, would you like, we placed our factory in Armenia. Our so-called president, Russian agent, Leonid Petrosyan, the first one, then became second agent, third, and now the fourth agent. He said, no, we don't need it. Like this one, when Mr. Bolton came to Armenia in 1980 after the so-called Velvet Revolution made by KGB scenario and brought another KGB agent to the throne as Armenian elected prime minister because they need the legacy of this guy to sign any trade, any betrayal treaty against Armenia. And he is doing, and they say, hey, you chose him. That was a revolution. You understand that? Eh? And Mr. Bolton came from America. That was during the Trump presidency. He said, we can give you American weapons, like now to Ukraine. By the way, Trump gave javelins to Ukraine, and they stopped in 2016, the Russian invasion. Javelins, which is a lethal weapon. And they proposed, American side, proposed weapons to Armenia, and so-called prime minister of Armenia and so-called defense minister, they said, no, we don't need, we have Russian weapons. He said, but American is better. They said, okay, it's okay for us. No, we don't need, because they can't say yes. Who are they? Nothing. Putin is deciding the destiny of Armenia, you understand? This is why I left this country, because I know that my country is gone. I must be here, organize the people like you, the people of my ethnicity, all goodwill guys in all over the world to liberate Armenia, because we must return back to the free world. Otherwise, the final genocide will come. And again, it will be organized by Russians and implemented by Turks. Because I want to say you, there is a Russian doctor who is also propagandist and who is the chief editor of so-called RIA Novosti agency. RIA, it means Russian Information Agency, Novosti. RIA Regnum. He's the chief editor of Southern redaction, Southern branch. His name is Tarasov. Last name is Tarasov. Mr. Tarasov, who is a prominent guy, and he said, I'm Armenophile. I love Armenians. Doesn't matter. He is graduated of Baku or Azerbaijani University, but it also doesn't matter for me. He said one time he's giving a lot of very precious information about Russian policy against Armenia, towards Armenia. He said, we know, and you know also, that the young Turks, the leaders of Ottoman Turkey, who committed the genocide against Armenian people, and not only Armenian, as I said, millions of other people also have been killed. 15 million population of Turkey have been reduced. A lot of people gone. And these statistics in Turkey is secret. Archives are closed. The same in Russia, because Stalin cleansed tens and tens and tens of millions of people. And the statistics of 1936, they closed it, put in the archive and secretized it until now. It's classified. The same with Turkey. Now, he said, these guys who came to the power and threw the Sultan and made this young Turk revolution, they have been agents of Tsarist Russia special services, secret services. Now, this is very interesting new aspect of genocide of Armenians, as I said, because Russia is the organizer of so-called Young Turk Revolution in 98, and these Young Turk leaders did what need Russia. I said about 19th century motto of Russian foreign minister, we need Armenia without Armenians. They did it. And as another proof of this, Turkish troops and gendarmerie and so-called Teşkilat Mahsus, which means special organization, and which is the forefather and nowadays modern Turkish intelligence, MIT, MIT, Milli Intelligence Turkey. These guys have been operated and killed Armenians, very, very cold-blooded, killed them in the presence of Russian army. Russian army was on the scene, and they didn't do anything to protect Armenian population. Maybe you will know the name of one big Armenian, one of the Armenian great freedom fighters, Andranik. He became a general in Armenian army later. He was a British general, by the way. He became a Russian titled, but his position was in British founded Armenian division. We had at that moment 3 divisions. 2 of them Eastern Armenian, 1 was Western, because Westerns were massacred. But anyway, we had an Armenian army corps, and one of the commanders was 3rd division, was under him. So this guy, before that, in 1914, 1915, was a commander of volunteer Armenian battalion, or they say regiment, but it's in fact that was a battalion. So these battalions, 10 battalions, fought very well in Armenia, very well for Russians, not for Russians, for liberation of our country. And many times he said to Russian generals, hey, General, for instance, Chernozuba, or General this or that, why you stop the advance? Why you stop and go back? They say, this is order from the general staff of Russian army. He said, hey, you rise up to us, say, we're going to liberate Armenia, you will help us as a Christian nation, and now you see these atrocities, and you see that, for instance, city of Mush is fighting, and there are a lot of Armenians, they are fighting for every house, and Armenian quarter is fighting and fighting against Turkish division, and let's go and help them. You said, no. And he slapped him. Many times he slapped the Russian generals, but that, okay, that was late. They understand that they are deceived. Russians are one part of genocide, and very, very active and very bad part, and Armenian doesn't know this. This is why archives are closed, sir. Our History Institute, I have these books, I can show, this is number 4, volume 4, part 1st, 8 such books I have in my library. I brought them from Armenia, and I will order another, all the volumes. I read this history, and nothing was written about that Armenia was divided between Russia and Turkey, that there was Armenian-Russian war, because Russians took our territory, our capital city. They divided our country. They have Treaty of Moscow in 1921 between Kemalist Turkey, which was not recognized as a nation. That was Kemal, Mustafa Kemal was a criminal, and he was under, they declared that they want him to put in the jail. He was a criminal, understand? The Ottoman government was in Constantinople, he was in Ankara, and this not recognized country made a treaty with another not recognized country until 1924, when Britain recognized Russia. Russia was not recognized. So both not recognized evil organizations, terroristic organizations, Bolshevik party and Kemalist party, they attacked Armenia, divided, legal country, member of League of Nations. And now we have these borders. For what Putin and Erdogan in Sochi in August 5 this year, he surrendered Armenia in order to have Erdogan to go as a mediator to Mr. Zelensky and ask them peace, because Russia is gone. Russia will be defeated and destroyed. It has 86 provinces and republics like Chechnya, Tatarstan, Buryatia, etc., etc. It will be divided on 86 small parts, because they don't like this Tsar of KGB, and he wants to stop the with the help of Schroeder, with the help of Italian prime minister, with the help of the Turkish president, and he gives that prize. And Armenia is one of these gifts to Turkey. My nation is under genocide threat because Putin wants to save his big empire. You know, the same happened many times with Soviet Russia and etc. You know that about the genocide of Armenians in Azerbaijan or Turkey in 1988, Sumgait. I had a special TV show 2 or 3 years ago in America about this, and 200,000 Armenians in this city, they watched this. I said about this, that this was not genocide of Armenians in Azerbaijan, but in Russia, because in 1988, there was no Azerbaijan. There was Soviet Russia. Azerbaijan was nothing. Armenia also nothing. And KGB organized genocide of Armenians. Why? How they could bring a lot of trucks with anasha, which is a drug, to make these guys in condition to go to kill. How they gave them specially made in factories metallic instruments, which became which became weapons of killing. Lot of them, thousands, with trucks. They brought it and dispersed in the people of 200,000 population city, 30,000 Armenians. They are killed. And Mr. Gorbachev said that we are late only. Soviet army were late only 3 hours. What 3 hours? 3 weeks Armenian nation have been killed in Sumgait and in Azerbaijan. Newborn little babies have been thrown from the windows of hospitals because they born Armenians. Took from their mothers, newborn mothers, and thrown from the window. And the so-called Turkish friendly nation of Armenia, or so-called Azerbaijanis, have been killed them with their feet on the asphalt, on the ground, or they took an Armenian lady from the bus stop and raped her. Tens of Azerbaijani Turks, fascists, and then kill her, and then gasoline on her and burn her body. And lot of such, thousands of such things happened. And how they could disperse the corpse of Armenians in all the morgues or so-called hospitals of Azerbaijan without the knowledge of our KGB. In Soviet Union, KGB knows everything. Even the fly couldn't pass the Soviet border or border between two republics or in the KGB. This is KGB. He knows everything. Even our speech now, we are speaking, they can record it. I don't know how. Maybe in New Zealand, maybe in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know. But how this superpower couldn't see that thousands of Armenians are going to be killed? They had the list of Armenians. They had the numbers of the houses of Armenians. They know what families where is living, and so on, so on. And there are 500,000, 500,000 Armenians in so-called Azerbaijan, and Russia was not aware about this. And its army late only 3 days. When in the last day of the genocide of Armenians in so-called Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic, Baku and Sumgait, they reported about this, and Politburo made a special meeting. Minister of Defense and Foreign Minister Marshal Yazov and Mr. Shevardnadze, Minister of Defense and Minister for, they reported Gorbachev, who was the General Secretary and President, first and the last President of the Soviet Union. I don't like that president and that country. It was an evil empire for me and my state, my country, my nation. They say